Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Strong Collectors Podcast. Today we are continuing our 10-part series looking at the 10 major factions within Mythic Legions. This is episode number 3, so we're going to be looking at Illythia's Brood. So we're starting with the bad guy factions first, and then we'll move on to the good guys after that. Now the bad guys factions are sponsored by Empire Toy Shop, so make sure you go over there and check them out. Like I've said, I really like their mystery boxes, but you can also pre-order everything that comes from Mythic Legions there. Right now, they also have in stock the retailer exclusive figures. So that's going to be your Li Jiang and your Blue Hagnon. I think those are both super cool figures. I have them on the way right now. You can also order the brand new retailer exclusive wave that just went up for pre-order not too long ago. Get those pre-orders in soon so they know how many of those figures to order. I'm really excited for the Cosmic Legion and that one specifically, but all of those are going to be super cool. Empire Toys has kindly donated Flogius to use for a giveaway for these first 5 episodes of the series. So to enter this giveaway, you just have to make sure that you're subscribed to the Strong Collectors and then comment on this video who your favorite in Illythia's Brood is. And then you can have up to 5 entries by going back and commenting on previous videos and the upcoming bad guy videos. Just say who your favorite in that faction is. So for example, you'd go back, watch the Necronominous wave, and leave a comment there saying who your favorite in that faction is. So up to 5 entries. You can leave more comments than that, but only 1 entry per video for up to 5 entries. So lots of chances to get your name entered, improve your chances. And today we're going to be talking about Illythia's Brood. And quick caveat, just like always, we probably are going to have different lists. Maybe we line up on some ideas, some were just totally the opposite. So that's okay. Leave your comments down below. Let me know where you think I went totally wrong, what figures you think I need to give a second chance, things like that. I'm totally happy to hear it. I will say Illythia's Brood is maybe my least favorite faction within Mythic Legions. I just don't really love the vampires too much, but the ones at the top of this list, especially number 1, is one of my all-time favorite figures. So again, just because the faction's not my favorite, there are still some great figures in this list. So let's get started. In Illythia's Brood, we have 13 figures, and starting off the list at number 13, I have the Vampire Knight. For me, the vampires, at least in my mind, are a little bit more solitary, but I know that's maybe not the canon for Legions. I just don't see my vampires with hordes of vampires behind them. I think having a few sentries, maybe to guard the castle just out at the front gate, I think that makes some sense. But I don't think these would be quite as army builder-ish as some of your other factions like the skeletons. But still, I like the purples and the blacks. 1.0s aren't my favorite, but I understand that like vampires are going to be a little bit more skinny and agile. Overall, I like the colors. I just don't think I would go back and get this older figure for myself. In 12th place, we have Lucretia. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right. I have this one a little bit higher, just as a named character. I think this one looks more like a leader. I like the tall collar. That seems very vampire to me. So I think that's a cool touch. Again, the purples and blacks I like, and I think I like this one just a little bit more because it seems more distinct. Probably one of the few vampires that isn't showing its teeth. So that's kind of an interesting touch. Or maybe I'm just not zoomed in enough on the pictures, but maybe if there was a newer version of this character or something similar that came out more recently, I'd imagine it would be packed in with a lot more cool accessories, maybe better soft goods, things like that. But for being an older figure, this one is pretty cool. In 11th place, we have Phobos. I've said before, I don't have a ton of room to display horses in my collection. I kind of tend to have my horses towards the bottoms of my lists, unless they're super cool, because there are a few that I like. This one is just a little bit too faction specific with that undead head. I think the helmet or the faceplate type thing with the bat wings, the chest, I don't know, it doesn't really seem like armor. It's just kind of decoration, but I like that look. The purple and the black on this one is cool too. I have this one. It's still in box for me. I don't know if I'm ever going to open it or if I'll try to use it for a trade later on. But I think it goes really well with Illythia. It's just, again, space is kind of a main factor for me. So the horses tend to rank a little lower in my lists. Next up, we have Baron Volliger. This is the second version. So this one is coming just decked out with soft goods and extra details that the first version didn't come with. I think this is probably my favorite vampire head sculpt out of all this faction. The shoulder pauldrons, the details on his upper body is super cool. And the fact that you're getting so much soft goods, I think this was one of the first figures that came out that really showed that Mythic Legions was about to pack these figures completely full of accessories and just go all out on the details. This one, I know I've seen him in person, but he doesn't pull me in as much. So that's why he's ranked a little bit lower than some of the other figures, but still a cool figure with tons of detail. Next up, we've got the Vampire Phalanx. This is a newer army builder and one that for me filled the hole of the Black Knight. I'd wanted a Black Knight for a while, but didn't really want to pay those aftermarket prices for him. So I was happy to see a brand new all black figure come out, because a lot of times with pop and swaps, I was looking for black parts and pieces and didn't really have enough of them. So getting this guy just for fodder alone is cool, but I think having him as a straight out of the box character works really well also. I do like this head sculpt a little bit more than the helmeted head, which is odd because usually I like the more helmeted heads, especially for the vampires, but I think this one looks pretty cool. In 8th place, we have Carpathius. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. This is one that had to grow on me a little bit. When I first saw him, I was like, kind of boring, but then the more I look at him, the more I kind of want this figure. So maybe if he was an all-star, I'd pick him up. I like the fully vampired head here. Some of the vampire heads don't really do it for me, but this one I like. And I also like the main black color with the accents of purple with the sash. I think I'm going to keep saying like I like this black and purple combo, which almost all of these figures have. I just think it's a cool touch, and I like the balance that this one has, and I like that he's a 1.0. It makes me feel like I would be able to pop and swap with this guy a little bit easier than I would with some of those 2.0 characters. Sticking with another 2.0 character, we've got Baron Volliger. This is the first version. So this was one that I've actually taken apart and used as a pop and swap for other characters, but I think this one as a standalone is a cool one. It kind of gives that like Black Knight, but with the colors, it makes him seem maybe like the leader of a group of Black Knights, which I guess you could have the Vampire Phalanx as that kind of host to go with him. I really like this style of sword. I think it's cool that you can swap off the top of the helmet. It's not like a crazy, super detailed painted figure, but the differences in color make those details stand out just right. Just missing out on the top 5. In 6th place, we have Illythia herself. I think this one is going to rank higher for most people, but for me, I don't know what it is yet. I have her in box. I need to open her up and probably get a better feel for the character. But for some reason, I think it's the extra arms that don't work for me, which is weird because I love characters with more arms. The head sculpt is super cool, like that crown I think is an awesome detail. I like how it is similar to Necronominus. Kind of makes them seem like a part of a group, which obviously they're the 4 horsemen. So the scales are kind of cool, kind of like a evil take on the scales of justice. I like that idea. I like the torso, how it's kind of got that wrapped fabric look. I think that's a cool touch. And I've seen some really cool pop and swaps with her. So I think this is a great figure. Maybe it's just the like deluxeness of it. I think I would probably be more excited about her as a standard figure, maybe leaving off some of those arms and accessories, but I know that just doesn't make sense for a horseman of the apocalypse. So maybe a version or a character like her, but different. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but 6th place, still respectable. Lord Dragul is the first character in the top 5. This is a Motu tribute figure, the only one within Illythia's brood, which I sometimes like to think Okiedos is a part of Illythia's brood because he's sort of vampirish, but he's also skeleton-ish. So, he's with Necronominus, but Lord Dragul is cool because I like the reds and blues. Red figures are really fun to pop and swap for me. So popping on some red limbs instead of those blue ones, I think is a really cool look, especially with that red cape. It just gives more of that like cohesive red and black. But I do think that the blue is a really cool touch because I think a lot of folks wouldn't expect that. Obviously, this has to have like a certain type of look to be the tribute that it's trying to be. But within Mythic Legions, I think this guy is a cool one that just he pops on the shelf. And you don't see the crossbow too often. So kind of a cool touch there. I usually don't display him with that. I like the swords and shields a little bit more. Definitely always displaying him with this head. Usually not the vampire head, but I like that this vampire has those red eyes, which we don't get with other vampires. In 4th place, we have Disebulus, and this is the ogre scale vampire. So again, I like that we're adding in some bigger figures to the faction. He is the biggest figure in this group. Maybe if you count horses, but as far as standing characters, this one is cool. And I think I'm tempted to maybe do some pop and swaps with him and Baradak when Baradak comes out, because then you could get some of those white arms with the armored up looks. So I think that could be a cool mix. I like how he's got just these crazy teeth. It makes him look like dangerous, but also a little bit dumb. Like he's just there and he's following orders. And he's kind of one of those, I don't want to say gentle giants, but he's probably very like nice and kind with Illythia. And then when Illythia says, go attack, then he's fierce and ferocious. So that's just my headcanon for this guy. And making the top 3 is Valak, just as straight out of the package, standing in like a vanilla pose, just like this picture here, is a perfect figure. It definitely makes him look like he's riding through the forest as Illythia's assassin. The fact that he comes with his bird is a cool touch. I think that's the first like pet that we'd ever had in Mythos. Others come later, but it's just kind of one of those exciting things that you get surprised with that you don't expect, and then Mythic Legions starts putting those out more and more. The purple hood, I like that it's more of the plastic. I tend to lean towards plastic over soft goods some of the time. I'm sure you could easily find some purple soft goods for this guy and make him cool as well. I really like this like leather jacket with the buttons and the fasteners. It's similar to the Headless Horseman. Really cool, like just base figure here, and I think you could do tons of pop and swaps or customs with this guy. This is one that I think outside of Mythic Legions you could just buy this figure alone and no other Mythic Legions and just kind of have him on a shelf to himself. Coming in at number 2, we have Vorgus Vermilius, and this is more so the version 2 of Vorgus Vermilius. The first one is cool too, but in most cases, other than what we've seen with Baron Volliger, for me, the version 2s are always going to be cooler than the version 1s. They're going to come with more accessories. We've got this crazy soft goods cape. And honestly, for me, I haven't even posed him with this cape because the figure himself is so cool. I prefer him with the partially exposed vampire face. I think this axe is perfect for him. Like, it definitely looks like this is a brutal warrior that really does not show mercy. Even though it's mostly just a red figure, the different colors of reds really make the details stand out. And this is one that I would highly recommend you get. Coming in at first place, and like I've said, this is one of my all-time favorite Mythic Legion figures, is Varg. This is one that if you don't have, I don't know what you're doing, because he's been in several in-stock sales. He's on pretty much all of the online retailers, so go pick him up at Empire Toys if you don't have him yet. This is one that straight out of the box, you can have just 2 easy looks. You can have him with the wings here. You can take the wings off and it looks like a different character. You've probably heard me talking in the previous episodes that I don't love smaller figures like goblins and dwarfs. This is the smaller dwarf scale figure, and he's one of my favorites. He's pretty versatile, I think, because you can use different legs. So like I've popped on the Dark Templar legs, and it makes him a regular 6-inch style Mythic Legion figure. And I've used him for a custom white demon. So there's a lot of possibilities. I like the chains. I like his weapons. This is a cool figure. And for his price, I think you're getting an absolute steal of a deal. So he's my number 1. And he's for sure in my top 5 all-time Mythic Legion figures. And here's a breakdown of how I organized my thoughts for this. If you want to get this tiered list, I'll leave a link down in the description below, and you can make your own, share it in the Cabal, tag me. I'd love to see what you rank these figures as. The bottom row doesn't necessarily mean they're bad figures. They're just figures that I don't really see fitting into my collection as much, but still decent figures. And like I said, we've got some of my absolute all-time favorites. For sure, Varg is in that list. And Baron Volliger 2 might also crack my top 5 all time. Get your entries in to win the giveaway, and I will see you in the next episode.